My name is George Flowers. It is my absolute honor and privilege to welcome you to the 57th annual meeting of the Historic Columbus Foundation. I hereby call this meeting to order. On this video, our presenters will cover the significant events that occurred during this past fiscal year and give you a taste of what is to come. It has been my pleasure to serve as your board chair for the past 15 years. I marvel at all the Historic Columbus staff, the community of volunteers and supporters have accomplished during this period. When family members have asked me what I do as chair, I have always said, mainly I just watch, and that the real work is done by the staff and those who serve on the executive committee and the board. I have been blessed to serve alongside some of the best. As past presidents, Philip Adams, Jack Key, Susan Lawhorn, Leah Braxton, Gary Pound, Will Bergen, Jack Jenkins, Bob Kidd, John Sheftel, and now Margaret McCormick, all of whom have graciously given their energy and passion to this wonderful organization and mission. Historic Columbus continues to be fortunate to have such a hard-working, committed, and enthusiastic staff. They too are the best of the best. Debbie Lipscomb, Palmer Colson, Walker Watkins, Justin Krieg, and the Executive Director, Elizabeth Walden. I want to share just a few of the highlights and memories I have of the past 15 years. I'm grateful to have been present for the 50th anniversary celebration with Tom Brokaw as the featured speaker, to sit at the front steps of my Forest Avenue childhood home in Winton, to record a video about the importance of saving me a place, to privately gift This Place Matters books to family and friends who have called this place home, to witness the saving of city mills thanks to the generosity of so many, particularly the wisdom and vision of Ken Henson, to be an observer of the rebirth of Bradley Circle, thanks again to the big-heartedness of this community and the passion of Jack Jenkins, and to see firsthand the beginning of the revitalization of Heritage Park and the Chattahoochee Promenade. I have been overwhelmed watching the people of this community open their checkbooks and, more importantly, their hearts for the mission of Historic Columbus. I have long admired the pioneers of this preservation movement, those upon whose shoulders we stand: Weezy Butler, Dexter Jordan, Joan Holder, Ed Neal, and Janice Biggers and Clayson Kyle. In my early volunteer days, I was privileged to work with past Executive Director Virginia Peebles, someone who set extremely high standards of accomplishment and work ethic values, which continue to resonate today. I joyfully worked with Susan Lawhorn as she transitioned from volunteer to Executive Director and back to volunteer again as president, as she set the table for the successful stewardship and leadership delivered by current Executive Director Elizabeth Walden. I especially want to thank the retiring board members, Ed Adams, Jamie Harris, Frank Schley, Dina Woodruff, and Sally Walden, all who have been dedicated members. Sally also faithfully served on the executive committee as secretary for many years, providing her thoughtful insights. I also want to thank and congratulate our new directors, all of whom have already contributed mightily to this organization and their community: Jack Jenkins, Ken Henson, Richard Peebles, Jack Schley, and Bob Wright. As you all know, those who have been involved for so long, Historic Columbus gets into your blood and never lets go. So I was thrilled when Elizabeth asked me to become a Director Emeritus, an extension of grace, to join the most faithful of Historic Columbus: Janice Biggers, Mary Bradley, Sally Hatcher, Clayson Kyle, Virginia Peebles, Gary Pound, and my predecessor, past Chair Ed Sprouse, who served for 22 years. I would also like to extend a welcome and thank you to 5 new trustees. They will be joining a larger class of returning trustees with a term expiring in 2026. Ed Adams, Frank Schley, Dina Woodruff, Sally Walden, and Sir Michael Jones. I am truly excited for the next mile in the historic Columbus journey. The foundation is solid, the path is well paved, and the future is bright, and the leadership is strong. Now it is my pleasure and honor to turn over the reins as chairman of the Board of Trustees to Betsy Ramsey. Betsy has been a part of this organization since its inception, in large part due to her mother, Weezy Butler, who served as the second president and third chairman of the board. Throughout Historic Columbus's 57 years, Betsy has served the organization faithfully in many capacities, including as a vital member of the executive committee for the last several years. Betsy, we are honored and grateful to you for accepting the torch which you are more than able to carry.
George, on behalf of the Board of Directors and the entire Historic Columbus membership, thank you for 15 years of dedication and service to Historic Columbus as its chairman of the Board of Trustees. I am very humbled to be asked to be the next chair of this group. I have very large shoes to fill, so I will be asking for patience and help while taking the next steps. Also, a big thank you to John Sheftel for serving as president of this group, not once, but twice. Your guidance has been invaluable. As George mentioned, historic preservation and Historic Columbus have been a part of my life since childhood. My mother, along with Janice Biggers and Miss Sarah Bickerstaff, was instrumental in getting Historic Columbus started down the path that brought us to this point. My mother was also chairman of the board many years ago. In fact, where we are filming right now, the Walker Peters Langdon House on Broadway, was one of their first preservation projects and our organization's first headquarters. There were also a lot of HCF conversations around the supper table at night at my parents' house, so many that my father started calling it Hysterical Columbus. But this is where I learned the importance of and the love for preservation. If we don't know from where we come, how can we possibly know where we are going? There's so much in terms of preservation going on in our community now. It is truly an exciting time. One of our biggest projects is well underway, Heritage Park and the Promenade. The demolition is for the most part complete, and we will be moving 5 houses into the historic district onto the Heritage Park site and moving several of the pieces from Heritage Park to the Promenade. After we move the houses into the district, Pace Halter and W.C. Bradley Real Estate will stabilize the houses on their foundations, finish the exteriors, and get the houses ready to sell. The new owners will be able to finish the interiors to suit their families. And Bradley Circle, just off 2nd Avenue, is another area where we have been spending a good bit of time. The area is making great strides toward becoming a charming, restored neighborhood. I hope that you will drive by both locations and see the changes being made. I would be remiss if I didn't mention how well the HCF staff keeps us functioning efficiently, and for that we are most grateful. Elizabeth Walden, our executive director and our fearless leader, guides us in each endeavor, and without whom we would be lost. Margaret McCormick will be stepping into the role of president, and Cal Evans, who has served Historic Columbus as treasurer for the past several years, will be following her as president-elect. Thank you both for your ongoing leadership. And last but certainly not least, thank each of you for supporting Historic Columbus. You have given your time, your ideas and advice, and your much-needed financial support. We would never have been able to accomplish all that we have achieved without you. I hope you all will join us tomorrow night, Tuesday, October the 17th, for our in-person Preservation Awards. We will also get to properly thank and celebrate George that evening. It's going to be a special program to honor all the individuals who have made preservation happen every day in our community. Next up is Cal Evans with our financial report for the year. Thank you, Cal.
Thank you, Betsy. Let me begin by saying that Historic Columbus ended the 22-23 fiscal year with a surplus, marking the 4th consecutive year this has occurred. Though the work of our staff and board laid the foundation for an incredible year, the real engine that drove performance was, once again, the extreme generosity of our members. Let me highlight a few of the wins on the income side of the ledger. Annual fund donations beat budget by 25%. Membership dues did the same by 9%, and general donations exceeded our forecast number by an impressive 33%. Our main fundraising event, A Night in Las Vegas, outperformed our expectations by 18% due to strong corporate sponsorship and packed house attendance. Although the gains on the income side of the ledger were impressive, we also faced the challenges of higher inflation regarding expense control, which offset the gains in the giving. Because of those continuing pressures, we have approved a balanced budget for the 23-24 fiscal year that should preserve the current surplus. Right now, work is being done on the Heritage Park Promenade project, which represents the single largest investment the Foundation has made in a revitalization effort. As this has a significant impact on our resources, it's more vital than ever to take steps to ensure that Historic Columbus stays on course in its effort to be financially self-sustaining. We have taken advantage of the current rate environment and locked in higher fixed rate returns to fund operations while preserving as much of the financial corpus as possible. Project-specific donations and generous grants will allow us to refill the coffers in a fairly short time frame, and we will address the next opportunity from a position of renewed financial strength. None of this would be possible without the support of our financial advisors at Synovus and Morgan Stanley, the work from our stalwart finance committee members, including John Calhoun, George Flowers, and Ed Adams, and exceptional contributions beyond the call of duty from Jay Pease, also a finance committee member, and Debbie Lipscomb. Just like 1 year ago, I remain extremely confident that the Foundation is in an excellent position to complete this project and to continue to operate as effectively and efficiently as it currently does. To conclude this report, our fiscal year-end numbers for the 2022-23 fiscal year are as follows. Total income, $603,990. Total expenses, $698,329. Transfers from restricted account, $61,257. Net income, negative $33,083. Surplus from 2021, $121,803. Carryover into 2022-23, $88,720. As always, the surest path to achieving that goal is continued enthusiastic engagement from our membership, board, and trustees, and we are counting on all of you to help us get there. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce Executive Director Elizabeth Walden to give our year in review.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all so much for joining us. We have come to the end of our 56th year as an organization, and to echo both George and Betsy, we are very grateful to our directors, trustees, and members. We would not be where we are today without your leadership and confidence. I am also incredibly thankful to our 5 directors who are rotating off the board this year and for all they have done. Ed Adams, Jamie Harris, Frank Sly, Sally Walden, and Dina Woodruff. Their time and their support have been invaluable to crafting the preservation priorities of this organization. As Cal stated in his financial report, Historic Columbus has been incredibly blessed because of you, our membership. We need you to know Historic Columbus remains on financial footing to brace for the challenges 2024 may bring. We will also continue to stay very active this coming year thanks to new education programming and great preservation projects that we are about to show you. This past year, your love for historic preservation had a significant impact. More than $450,000 was invested for preservation projects and education programs thanks to your continuing commitment and support. On the education side of our mission, the Rivertown Play, our collaboration with Rick McKnight and Fab Arts was put into 26 out of the 30 elementary schools and reached over 1,700 third graders. This play was developed by professional storyteller Kathy Kamerlin and showcases our community's Native American history, the importance of the Chattahoochee River, Horace King's contributions, and our city's important industrial history. This school year, we will achieve even more with this wonderful and interactive play. We are very thankful to Rick, Kathy, and Fab Arts for expanding how our community's children learn about the history of their town. Our second major educational program is another wonderful collaboration with River Center for the Performing Arts. We have now developed 3 history exhibits, with our most recent one, Industrial Columbus, installed on the mezzanine level at River Center just last month. Industrial Columbus will take you on the economic journey of our town from its earliest days in 1828 through the realities of the Civil War and Reconstruction to the middle of the 20th century, when industries such as bricks, soft drinks, and peanuts began their rise to success. It includes the important stories of those who built the industries in our town and those who labored to make them happen. It was a great amount of fun putting this history together for the panels, and it would not have been possible without a lot of help. Without the original research of Dr. John Leupold, the design creativity of Gabby Wilson, the craftsmanship of Kara Cable at Cat's Meow, and the incredible assistance of the Historic Columbus staff, this would not have come together at all. These exhibits served as a wonderful opportunity for Historic Columbus to reach a broader audience and highlight different aspects of our town's history. And in case you missed our previous 2 exhibits, they have been placed in the Columbus Iron Works and the Columbus Public Library for you and the public to be able to experience. We are very grateful to these great cultural arts partners, as well as extremely thankful for a grant from the Columbus Cultural Arts Alliance to make them a reality. Historic Columbus has also continued its investment in education through the Patricia Jackson Howard Scholarship, named in memory of our second executive director. The 30th Howard Scholarship was awarded in May to Carver High School graduate Ashley Ogletree, who is now attending North Carolina A&T State University. To date, over $50,000 has been provided to graduating seniors in Patty's name. Being proactive in finding new ways to share our community stories and advocating for the benefits that preservation tools can bring goes hand in hand with our current preservation projects. Since 1997, 256 low-interest facade and rehab loans have been made to property owners by Historic Columbus, representing over $2 million of total investment in our historic neighborhoods. These loans are available to any owner of a property that is over 50 years old to help put a new roof on your home, put a fresh coat of paint on the outside of your house, or provide funds for a full inside renovation. HCF is very grateful to the Bradley Turner Foundation for their confidence in this loan program to create Columbus's first program-related investment, and to have a partner like NeighborWorks Columbus to provide all of the underwriting for the loans. This past fiscal year, $216,000 was provided to repair 7 families' historic homes. Historic Columbus has also utilized acquisition with the purchase and rehabilitation of one property at a time. To date, over 80 endangered properties have been a part of this revolving fund program. Our current projects have been focused along the 2nd Avenue corridor to assist in the overall mission of the Mill District. This past year, HCF has revitalized and sold 2 historic houses in Bradley Circle. $144,000 was returned to the Biggers Revolving Redevelopment Fund through the sale of 2807 Bradley Circle and 2937 Bradley Circle. $160,000 was invested in their rehabilitation. And our latest revolving fund property, 2906 Bradley Circle, has been listed for sale. Its exterior has been completely restored with a new front porch that had previously been enclosed, and the interior is ready for a new owner to finish. This house will also have an upstairs area. We are extremely thankful for contractor Tim Gregory and his team, along with Bloomer's Lawn and Garden, who installed new landscaping for the house. Our older residential blocks, like those in Bradley Circle, offer more affordable housing options. 57% of housing units built before 1950 have a monthly housing cost of less than $1,000. And that is why neighborhoods like those in the Mill District, among others, are vital to Columbus's overall success. As our community works to grow a larger workforce, historic residential neighborhoods like Bradley Circle provide crucial housing options. Since 2015, Historic Columbus, along with existing homeowners and other investors, have witnessed the potential and positive change occurring in Bradley Circle. Rehabilitation in neighborhoods spurs additional rehabilitation. To date, More than 13 houses have been purchased by various buyers and are either in the process of renovation or have been completed. These modest 1,000 square foot homes are not only affordable, but some have potentially the best views overlooking the river. Bradley Circle has made some big strides thanks to numerous preservation partners and the passion of past President Jack Jenkins. Historic Columbus is excited to be a part of this effort as it continues to move forward in a big way. 2 years ago, we started talking about a project that has become Historic Columbus's largest investment and biggest in terms of scope. The Heritage Park and Chattahoochee Promenade Revitalization Project officially started late this summer. The overall concept is to revitalize the promenade and expand the history of our city told by moving the industrial history elements from Heritage Park to the promenade, along with creating the new Clifford and Bobsey Swift History Trail. Return the Heritage Park property to its original residential use, and save 5 historic structures for them to become single-family homes once again by moving them to the Heritage Park property. 3 of these houses are coming from Lumpkin, Georgia, in partnership with Historic Westville. We are so grateful for their generosity to create a new chapter of life for these fabulous 1840s structures. The ability to have this type of out-of-the-box idea nurtured would not have been possible without the creativity of your HCF Board of Directors and the partnerships with Historic Westville, W.C. Bradley Company, and the City of Columbus. And most importantly, the ability to produce a revitalization project as significant as this one would not be possible without the Historic Columbus membership, Sarah Turner Butler's investment in the future of Historic Columbus, and amazing gifts and grants from several generous donors and foundation. Demolition has been completed at Heritage Park. It was a long 3-week process with a lot of shaking going on for the surrounding properties. Fortunately, that is done, and now the grading and site prep work can begin for the 5 houses that will be moved this fall. In the coming month, we will let everyone know when the houses begin to make their move. It will start with the brick kiln and log cabin. They will move across Front Avenue to the promenade. The brick kiln, which was originally a test kiln for Bickerstaff brick, will be moved first. The kiln, along with its foundation, will be moved as one unit. Then the log cabin will make its way and become one of the starting elements to tell the story of our community's founding as the first part of the Swift History Trail. Later this fall, the Juniper House and Westville houses will make their way, but don't worry, there will be lots of information on our social media and in our weekly history spotlights about when that will happen, because it will definitely be a parade of homes coming downtown. Once they land on their new foundations, the W.C. Bradley Company and their team will finish the renovations of all 5 houses, and then they will be available for sale as single-family homes. Utilizing a community's historic resources is a strategy absolutely exclusive to that community. Someone can always duplicate your water lines, the way an industrial park is laid out, how a permitting process works, but no one can duplicate your historic resources. Historic preservation is certainly not the sole element in an economic development strategy, but it is increasingly being recognized as a critical component of a comprehensive approach. Historic Columbus's mission and bottom line at the end of the day has always been about your passion for our places, your passion for our history, and your passion to improve our community. That is what we celebrate with these projects and what we will showcase tomorrow evening, October 17th, as we highlight the incredible private investment of our 2023 Preservation Award recipients. This will also be the time for us to honor our new immediate past chairman of the Board of Trustees, George Flowers, and immediate past president, John Sheftall, along with properly thanking Betsy Ramsey and Margaret McCormick for not only agreeing to take on those positions, but also for their never-ending leadership and support. Before I go, I want to take one more minute to thank the Historic Columbus staff. I am so fortunate to be able to work beside them. Walker Watkins, Debbie Lipscomb, Justin Krieg, and Palmer Colson. They are an incredible team. Thank you all for everything you do for Historic Columbus and to make our community a better place. We are grateful. Now, it is my great pleasure to turn things over to our Director of Planning and Programs, Justin Krieg, to tell you more about this year's Preservation Awards.
Thank you, Elizabeth. The virtual program that you have seen tonight is all about what Historic Columbus has been able to accomplish thanks to you. Tomorrow, Tuesday, October 17th, we get to celebrate in person with you to honor the recipients of the 57th Annual Preservation Awards. Historic Columbus is excited to award 12 properties with a 2023 Historic Columbus Preservation Award. These awards recognize individuals, businesses, and organizations who have completed a major historic rehabilitation, appropriate infill development, or a program or exhibit related to our collective history in Columbus. These preservation champions take on the long, hard, and in most cases expensive task of preserving historic properties. Historic Columbus is fully aware of the challenges of this work and is compelled to recognize these efforts. Preserving our historic buildings and telling the stories of our people and places gives us our sense of place as a community. These are the things that make Columbus unique, authentic, and interesting. Preservation is right at the center of all those things. At tomorrow's Preservation Awards, we will also present Historic Columbus's highest honor, the Sarah Turner Butler Heritage Award. This award has been given annually since 1984 to an individual or organization for outstanding contributions to our historic preservation efforts in our city and region through demonstrated leadership and commitment to the mission of Historic Columbus. So please join us at the W.C. Bradley Company tomorrow evening, Tuesday, October 17th at 5:30 p.m. to honor the award recipients and their worthy projects. We hope to see you there. And now we have one more important leadership transition.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Justin. As most of you know, I'm John Sheftel, and I've been privileged to have served a second term as Historic Columbus's president for the past 2 years. Back in 1994, when Lucy and I moved 2 legal practices and 3 young children from Atlanta to Columbus in order to keep the Cedars, my mother's ancestral home, in our family, I could never have imagined how rewarding the almost 30 years that have followed would be. Columbus has been a great place to raise a family and pursue our careers, while at the same time providing amazing opportunities to engage meaningfully in the community, especially with organizations whose missions are near and dear to our hearts. And for me, Historic Columbus has always been at the top of that list. The elder statesmen and women of the organization took a risk on me the very year we moved to town and asked me to join the board. Since then, I've been privileged to serve Historic Columbus continuously as a board member and officer, including now a total of 4 years as president. Whether helping to revise our local ordinances and procedures for the better protection of our historic buildings and neighborhoods, or representing Historic Columbus on BHAR, or working with both Historic Columbus and Midtown on the effort to establish new historic districts to save multiple neighborhoods and thousands of historic structures, or promoting the principles of preservation in our community, or cheering Historic Columbus's involvement with saving and repurposing city mills, or advocating for more educational opportunities to tell all aspects of the story of our town, such as continuing the Historic Chattahoochee Commission's Historic Marker Program, or just trying to keep our own historic house preserved using best practices. My journey here has been supported and encouraged every step of the way by this organization. And here's the thing, Historic Columbus has never been afraid of changing and adapting to ensure that its important mission remains relevant. We never rest on our laurels, never shy away from embracing a new challenge, and never allow ourselves to believe we can't always improve, do things even better tomorrow, and make an even greater difference for the citizens of the Chattahoochee Valley. Which brings us to the last 2 years. During that time, one big idea is now becoming a reality: the Heritage Park Promenade Project. It's the largest project Historic Columbus has ever undertaken in its 57-year history. With the transfer of the Heritage Park property from the city to Historic Columbus completed and the demolition wrapping up, it's now time to begin relocating the 5 endangered historic houses and return this part of our original city to residential use. And of course, that couldn't happen without incredible partners like the City of Columbus and the W.C. Bradley Company, and of course, our generous donors. And across the street, where we are located now, soon residents and tourists alike will experience a revitalized park with inviting green space to include open views of the river and to learn the history of our town, from our early Native American roots to the impact of the Civil War and the realities of Reconstruction, to our industrial development, growth of the cultural arts, and our civil rights history. The Clifford and Bobsey Swift History Trail will share many stories. Efforts in years past, spearheaded by Historic Columbus at both the Promenade and former Heritage Park sites, have presented aspects of Columbus's history and done it well, but that information needs to be updated, expanded, and conveyed in more relevant and compelling ways, and we are doing that. But in addition to the Heritage Park Promenade project, mammoth as it is, Historic Columbus has many other irons in the fire, so stay tuned. The future is going to be even more exciting and rewarding. And speaking of the future, it's now my honor to recognize Margaret McCormick as our new Historic Columbus president. Margaret has deep roots in our community and in this organization. There are great things on the horizon, and I look forward to working with and supporting Margaret as she leads Historic Columbus over the next 2 years. Thank you all again for your confidence in our mission and for your investment of time and money in historic preservation. Your faithfulness has enabled Historic Columbus to truly make a difference in this community. And thank you always, also, for the many years you have allowed me to have a seat at Historic Columbus's leadership table. I firmly believe that the best is yet to come, and we have just the right person to lead the organization for the next couple of years and help make that belief a reality. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to officially turn over the reins to Margaret.
Thank you, John, and congratulations on a job well done. I've been extremely fortunate to have been involved with Historic Columbus for many years. It's my honor to follow John and the many community leaders before him who have led Historic Columbus through many triumphant preservation moments, as well as those that have challenged us as an organization. One of those leaders was also my mother, Mary Bradley. She was president of Historic Columbus during the late 1980s and was one of many who championed the development of Heritage Corner, providing historic house tours to share the history and stories of our town. Since that time, our educational programming has completely transformed and will be showcased in the new Clifford and Bobsey Swift History Trail at the Chattahoochee Promenade, a project you have heard a lot about tonight. I'm very excited for the future of Historic Columbus. There will be no shortage of preservation activity with the moving of the 5 houses to the former Heritage Park site, continuing the revitalization of Bradley Circle, and providing low-interest loans to homeowners for all of Columbus's older neighborhoods to promote further investment. There will also be new projects on the horizon we'll be sharing with you in the coming months. Historic Columbus continues to remain financially solid and never more poised to accomplish even greater things, thanks to a strong board of directors and our treasurer and president-elect, Cal Evans. Our founders, like Janice and Clayson, continue to challenge us to be ever vigilant and to look to the future, to remember and interpret Columbus's history for the next generation, and to never stop securing our historic resources to improve our community, one building at a time, one block at a time. I look forward to serving as your president and joining all of you to continue the good work of Historic Columbus in the days ahead, starting tomorrow. I invite all of you to join us in person at this year's Preservation Awards. It will be held at the W.C. Bradley Company on Front Avenue and will start at 5:30 p.m. There will be many individuals and groups that we need to thank for their investment in our community. We will also present this year's Sarah Turner Butler Preservation Award, which is Historic Columbus's highest honor. So I hope to see you then, and for now, we are adjourned.